Bam! It's me, Tin Man. Hello all. Check out the studio now, eh? Things are looking up. How y'all doing? Mr. Dwarf, how you doing, brother? The Scout himself. How you boys doing? Warm? Oh yeah. Looks like it's gonna snow out here. Like there's no clouds. You guys just seen the view a moment ago. There's no clouds. It's not heavy clouding or anything, but they're putting down a lot of salt right now, I've noticed, so they're at least expecting a lot of moisture going on, minimally. A lot of potholes, guys, not like regular potholes either. A lot of pavement breaking, a lot of fracking in the pavement. Just start studying it now and remember when we were kids how asphalt was and stuff, and it should have only gotten better. And potholes are something that we've always understood. Across Canada to down to the States, when I say pothole, we all know what a pothole is, I would imagine. And I'm not so much talking about those, but those are a big deal because they like to pick at the potholes. And you'll notice stuff going to the sides of roads and stuff. Start watching for those kind of things. I'm talking about more the breaking of that. We got to remember that that is a tar compound. There's gravel in it, very fine gravel usually and stuff. And the best of of asphalt, they're cracking it up and stuff through the heat of summer. And we all know what we do with the motorcycle in the heat of the summer. We avoid setting our single stand up on any asphalt. We'll go with concrete, right? So those are just things. Hey, bro, you're up in the redwoods? Yeah. Brager. So life is good for everyone. Poor connection. What are you talking about, a poor connection? I haven't, well, at the end of the day, my excuse is just kind of my financial situation. Beginning of the month and I'm already broke. This is the worst right now, obviously, right? But I think next month I'm going to be bringing in I don't know. I'm going to be in a new world, guys. I most likely will be over in Victoria, on Vancouver Island. So if any of you Americans want to hop over on a ferry or something like that, we can meet up in the big park there or something. And I've been there before. I'm going to be stationed kind of central around all those $1 million homes and stuff in that neighborhood there. So I'm just looking forward to sharing more of my tree identity with you guys. So people start identifying with the trees more. It's a language in its own, guys. It really is. If we think of the Chinese and we understand it as all just symbols or something, they're writing. Ours are some kind of letters. In a way, they're the same. I guess a symbol for a letter and a symbol for whatever. House, I guess, and different things like this. A symbol for represents a dog, I guess. And then they can add them together and maybe the dog's in the house. I don't know. But those are all just something we're learning. And that's all just fully different languages if you really think about it. But in the end, we can speak them and we're reading them. This is what I'm talking about here with the trees. About learning to read them, understand, and really stand behind what you're noticing that different about the trees. So that's the first and foremost. Instead of trying to trust me. Hello, everyone. Big-headed Martian. Instead of trying to trust my words, just really watch your trees. Especially right now through the winter, they should not be activated. They should not be. I'm going to switch the camera around again, guys, just to show you something. Hey, big-headed greetings to you. You see this tree? I'm going to switch this a bit, and hopefully I don't hit your, anything important. So now I'm going to just point, where am I over here? Yeah. So you see that tree right there? I'm going to get something nicer to point with. How about I point with this beautiful feather, guys? Check this out, eh? Not a nice pointer? If you can see it well. Anyways, you see this tree right there? I'm going to point the head. I'm going to call this the head. From here, that stuff there isn't part of it. It's another tree in behind. You can see the separation of the trunks there. So anyways, I'm talking about this firish kind of tree. So he's got this head from here to here, okay? That head, and I'm not kidding you, it has grown bigger in dimension and so on and so forth. It has actually grown taller, this plant, since it's been doing what it's been doing. Like its trunk has been growing thicker and everything. But that whole head was tucked right in here. It was tucked right there, you guys. And what that tree has done in more than one way, and it's only got a small S left in it, man. And last time I talked about it, the S was so hardcore, I thought to myself, there's no way that tree is going to stand straight still there in that S right there. And if I could actually just walk us over closer to there, it's hardly 2 feet out of, and I'm telling you, that S was kind of like, when it originally came from the tree, it wasn't like an S. It would have been, okay, tree coming up, and then going down, and then going up again. So I don't know, what do we call that, a double S or something like that? It was so freaking hardcore. And another thing that I've talked about in the other videos to prove it to you guys is this side was very bare when the first standing of it went. So it went very immediately from around this position into a higher position. And ever since then, it's been working out those heavy duty kinks out of it. And there was a number in there too or whatever. But anyways, having said that, way off to my left here is its two brothers that have been going through the same treatment in life. And if we looked and I got into it and I started talking about all these different branches up just over this way, I don't feel like moving you all around and stuff, but I could show you a whole bunch of history here of branches that now have replaced the tops of the trees and stuff, where they stood up tall and they're no longer acting like a branch anymore. They just are acting like it's the tree trunk, and branches start to form off of it. And each tree ends up with multiple tops instead of being kind of like an original tree with just a singular top. And just put your own sense into what you think trees should be doing, because it's not super abnormal. It's not super abnormal, guys, what trees should be doing. You look at your flowers, you can tell when a flower is popping out and how seeds act and when it goes into seeding and different things like this. And pay attention to that kind of stuff, because it's not like this is clearing up. It's only going to go more and more. And my biggest thing is, let's just make sure these guys are going to be cool with us. That's my biggest focal point. Is why do they at least mix people up in the forest? I believe that 100%. Whether behind the murders and killings or disappearances and stuff, that's a whole another thing from what I'm talking about. But I have a lot of knowledge that has come towards me that I know what they do. I know how they've interacted with me, and I know they're messing with people, and they're more successful with women for some reason. And maybe you women could understand that yourself. I've explained stuff on that, right? But so those are my reasons. Those are my reasons. Somebody asked or said a comment the other day trying to tell me to go back to my family and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, you don't have any clue what I'm like with my family. You have no clue. My 4 kids have, I would just say, if they were in a room and you guys walked in there and said, okay, honestly, what do you think of your dad? I think they would all say he's a pretty awesome guy. He's crazy or whatever type thing. And I'm the same way with those kids, so young adults. So having said that, coming up to Christmas time, and there's no Christmas stress amongst us 5 people with each others. We're happy. Do we want it a little bit different? Yeah, all 5 of us want it a little bit different. There's 4 kids I have, and there's 1 of me, and we all want it a little bit different. They want me to be safer, and I want to make sure that I'm safe, all the time. And, that's part of life, isn't it? When we drive down the road, we want to be safe. So just saying that, because I don't want people to go too far out there thinking that what I'm doing is detrimental to my own happiness, to my own peace of mind, my own mentality, all that kind of stuff. I'm standing really tall and strong. I might have my aches and pains and complaints and all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, think about it. I'm living in a car, not necessarily because I really, really want to, and I don't complain about it a lot. I'm doing it kind of as a choice, as a learning operation, as a whole slew of things. I could go on with a whole bunch of different little things to describe what I'm going through. So, like, I was watching a video today, and it was about that Iceman. I can't remember what his name is and stuff, but he's a guy 20 years ago or 30 years ago started just swimming in ice, and now he's got this big following where he does all this ice thing and stuff like that. And listening to him made me think about why I wear sandals. Like, I'm still wearing sandals, and it's pretty cold out here. I don't wear socks, and I'm noticing my feet more often, and it's good for me because I have some other ailments in my body that take a lot of thought. So now this is when I really notice my feet a lot, but my feet are handling it. They're tough. I warm them up lots of times when I'm sitting here. I'm rubbing my feet, all that kind of stuff. You know, you guys aren't just on an adventure about Bigfoot. You're also on an adventure of having to listen to me. I get that. But I kid you not, man. There's a lot going on that most people aren't noticing. And there's some other people who out there are saying, I get you, and I get you, Tin Man. But do they get the fact that I'm saying these guys, I think, are probably behind touching all of our trees, or at least that's their end result? So in other words, say there's a far away off island somewhere that the trees are somehow being able to do all what they're doing all by themselves there and stuff like that. And there hasn't been one of these creatures there yet. They will want to be there. That would be, if they found out about it, they would only try to figure out how to be getting there. So that's my 2 bits, That's they're first and foremost living like us, humans. Secondly is their survival. And ours is food, and theirs is food. And I'm just going to say water would be part of that, because we could get a lot of water out of our food. We realize that too, right? So, and theirs is behind that entity of it. They are kind of like a farmer who won't give up on that cornfield. Maybe he's got a couple other plantations out there, and he's, you see him out there until he's 91 years old, working, and he just won't give up, and he's producing and stuff like that. They're kind of like that, just like a huge work ant in a way. So we got to know how free they are compared to an ant is one of my new things of saying, because I really recognize this this guy who's behind a duty, and the duty affects us big time. But there's sometimes it's not even affecting us. And I'm like, why are you doing it way the heck over here then? And then that's when that ant thing starts to roll in. Sometimes I think to myself, well, it can be training and stuff like that. But I'm also talking in places where I've seen, you get the feeling of it's pretty heavy duty work. So can't sit still like a lady in a kitchen, You go over to your grandmas, you go over to your mums, you go over to your sisters, whatever. You're sitting around the table in the kitchen, and all they do is keep getting up and doing a little bit more or whatever, and then sitting back down, and then going and grab some more and coming back, and I don't know. So I'm going to say hello to everybody. 15 minutes into it. Almost. Shari, hello. Hello, Sherry, how's it going? I guess I shouldn't say Shari. So glad to see everybody. Great conversations going on with Tin Man. As always, that's nice to hear. Big-headed Martian is saying, Tin Man, I have an idea if you... Oh, I'm going to turn around the camera. Sorry about that. I forgot all about that. Crazy me. Oops. I have an idea. If we could find a good candidate, rabbit, tortoise, to put a wireless camera on it, and oh yeah, I hear what you're saying. You could practically almost try anything that's really tricky like that and see what your I'm sorry. I hope that wasn't hard on your head. Sorry about that, guys. That's dumb. Yeah, that would be, I'm going to sit you over this way a little bit so I can read that better. Damn it. Such a klutz. There we go. Sounds good, yeah. And then, Scout, what are you saying? Still need to get Bigfoot. I can't do without email address from you. Oh, okay. No, well, my email address, just go on to my thing there. Other people have been emailing me now. It comes up on my tinnitus journal at gmail.com. You'll see it on there, and I think it's what do I call it? My tinnitus journal at gmail.com. My tinnitus journal. Yeah, I think that's all I call it. Oh, Facebook. That's right, FB, right? That's why I'm confusing people sometimes when I put FB or BF. Oh no, I'm confusing myself there, aren't I? Okay, so Facebook. I don't have a Facebook yet. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying about you getting me one going. Can't you just do one in the name or something like that? Like there's, what's her name there? Or from out on the island there. Has done up, you have to have an email. Okay, if you look on my thing here, on my actual, channel, you'll be able to see my email, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So do you phone number 2, okay. So do you anybody have anything to say about my the relation, what I've been saying about with Darwin? Do you understand why I'm bringing that connection in? It's because what I'm saying with it is we don't talk much about trees or anything at all. We talk about cutting them down. We talk about that they were logs and stuff like that. But what we're missing out is they are as important as how we understand a connection with everything. Like if you look at a tree, it has veins. It's shaped like a vein system. It's got its main artery and all these other different veins, and they're all reaching out for food. Okay, that's exactly what we're doing throughout our system. It's pretty much the exact thing. We have a vein system. Now you take the earth as a ball, and you look at where the lava is running, the water is. There's, we say those are coal veins and different things like that. These are all complexes and different attributes that have made the whole thing, the earth and stuff, and that's part of how we should be able to know that we're from Earth, is because we have byproducts of Earth in us. And the tree has byproduct of Earth in it, and the rock does, and even down to water somehow is going to have a relation. I mean, it's all maybe it's part of just the food system. But I haven't said that. Now, molds and fungi and all that kind of stuff does come into a related effect with trees. And that's what they're doing all the time. And there's a obvious reason for it. One of my big fears at one time was because these guys put on that super growth in them and put in the suckerism. And so my worry is that has a different state of running cycles of air and stuff and carbons through it and all that kind of stuff. So if you remember that. Water is the secret of life. Sherry had to step away. Okay. The kids needed you? Needed the snack? No, you didn't miss anything. Yeah, mushrooms. And so that's what the trees are, I would say, in a way, is these giant mushrooms and stuff. And, you know, now when you watch these mushroom pictures out there and stuff, and they're coming to these big, you know, I was watching this one guy, and he's just going through and just kind of taking them all, right? I wasn't really agreeing with him, because I'm sitting there thinking, you know, maybe those were left there or planted in a way, such thing for it's easy for the humans to get in there and get to them. Because I see somebody else cultivating them, right? And, or it was for their own little find. And here this guy goes in there and just sweeps through the whole thing. I don't know if he ended up cleaning it out, but he was acting so excited. It seemed like he wasn't going to leave the little ones at least to mature or whatever, you know. I don't know the trade much or whatever type thing, right? But what I do when I'm out there now, I'm a guy, I take a pee, right? When I do it, I try to do it in a respectful way. There's times where if I feel the respect has to be on a level where I even cover it up. I try not to expose myself like I'm trying to be show a respect or a non-gesture of any way that I don't know how they take it. But if we're playing shy and bashful, the love that they show for their families, for not exposing them, and different times like this where we really believe it's probably a female hiding children and stuff like this, that bashfulness and shyness, how we know it through the monkeys and through the apes and through ourselves and stuff like that, probably is a trait that they can pick up on, right? So, yeah, real interesting, the mindset you have to try to get into, because you can't just be out there thinking you're looking for the lion. You have to try to get into the lion's mindset. You have to try to understand when you think you're doing something wrong that you will aggravate him, try to attack you. Should we have proper bars up? Can we have our bars down? Whatever, in the Jeep, you know, whatever you're doing, you're doing. And this is the same thing, but you just don't, that's what we have for our, and look at what we're doing. You know, we're walking around, like, I don't know about you, but I don't walk around with a gun or anything, and there's lots of us walking, you know, women walking around by themselves and stuff. It's just a crazy adventure what is going on right now. So peace and safety for all the people who are out there, you know, just trying to come up with some answers and stuff like that. You guys are just looking for your lucky stuff and wanting to just listen to lucky stuff all the time and stuff. It's an option, it's something to do or whatever type thing, but if you really think there's more out there, start listening to some of the people. Start try to follow along with their rambling ons. And if you get committed, don't shy away from dropping them if you end up realizing that they're bullshitting or something like that, or if they're doing too many things that just don't make sense, because there's a lot of guys out there that just do a lot of things that just make sense, or they're giving you documentation that you can watch that their influence is so little. You can hear me, I do a lot of influence in what I believe I'm discovering and figuring out. There's a lot of guys out there who do very little influence, and there's people who like that. I really appreciate that myself, because they might bounce a few things off, but then I'm sitting there and I'm reading Der Forest instead of, you know, a lot of people aren't even reading the Forest. Go on to all the things, you know, how many people are talking about, there is basics to it, right? But I don't know. Nobody really gets into the lengths. Everybody kind of gets into the arch as kind of like being a trademark or whatever type thing. But I'm telling you, the tree is the trademark. Really. And if the tree looks super healthy and beautiful and it's come up just awesome, and these ones are over here like this or something, that's the trademark. They chose to leave that one like that. Down at the mall where I chill there, I kid you not, there are trees this frickin' big around is rough. Like you're looking directly up at now, right? Rough, big veins and stuff like these on these trunks, and just ugly and mossy, and just number of mosses, like probably 3-4 moss diseases going out on these things, right? The some of them are just gouged right out, where they got 3-4 foot gouges in them. At the same time, the trees have grown quite tall. A zillion branches, like I'm talking, I don't know, hundreds of branches. And you go over to its cousin, its sister, whatever, by the front entrance there, and the trees are still, maybe the biggest one is, or the smallest one is about this small. Pretty nice skin, same leaves. Branches are just, a heavier amount of branches, but not the ridiculous amount that we're seeing out there. And and the gardener there, who's a search and rescue chap, he knows the difference he looks at those two trees and he listens to me a lot and stuff like that, so, and it just makes him shake his head. He only can shake his head at not understanding why these trees, and there's so many throughout his whole park there, that look this beat up and this ugly and all this kind of stuff. When he drives in there day in, day out, he doesn't know when a car hit it or any of these kind of calculations. And then you got those 5 at the front there that are just beautiful. And part of the reason is, I originally thought because it's a little bit more difficult to go there, because it really is our main entrance into the mall, and it's quite lit up, stuff like that. So that can be helpful for you realizing when you're trying to break down things, is think about spots that are harder to get to. Think about them changing the accessibility. Go and park up by a ridge and look down at your mall and your church and your schools and stuff like that, and just look around and you think about where anybody could maybe they only have to a couple of spots, zip across a couple of roads where they're uncovered. But other than that, and that's what they constantly do, is set up these trails that they're going to have that kind of coverage. But that's not what the trees are about, right? That's where some of my confusion got. I kept on going with, how come they're locking us in? Stuff like that. And I got that at the very beginning, my 12 months ago, is why are they doing all this to us and stuff like that. But then I got more to this spot of, no, they're doing it about the trees and the earth, the mechanics of earth. I don't know if it has to do with the ecosystem, like they feel like they're breathing different, so they're trying to grow a bunch of trees or something. I don't know. My mind's had to go into so many spots, and what I do is I pick up the one, I try to stay with the ones that seem to sit with most logically with me. And so when I was doing a lot of thinking of them coming out from under earth, and then there's doing all this super growth, and that suckerism grows through the winter heavily, relies on the sun system also, but I was afraid that it was doing whatever different, how it does our carbons breakdowns and stuff like that, because it was on a different growth system, thinking that, okay, because they come from under earth, then they're trying to bring down our oxygen level up here, something like that. But since then, no, these guys, who knows, they might be the muscle power behind the Pharaoh stuff, or a link to the Pharaoh stuff. I kid you not, we all know there's strength involved. We all know that. And we always sit there confused about the pharaohs, all these pyramids and such. Like I got all excited because I remembered the word. Who's out there in Tin Man world? Anybody got anything to say? Did you guys all leave? I got lots of grunts picking blackberries. Yeah. You eat them? So Big-Headed Martian is asking me, do I believe that the Sasquatch can cloak or become the tree like Doc Sasquatch predicts? So who's Doc Sasquatch? By any chance, is he... Hey, guys, don't forget about the thumbs up, too, eh? It's very hopeful, very thoughtful. I appreciate it a lot. So anyways, cloak. Well, if you look up in the dictionary what cloaking is, all cloaking is you're just hiding, basically, is what it is. You might be using a little bit of stuff to hide with it or whatever type thing, but you're basically just hiding. So yeah, that's what they do. That's one of their main tendency is to make sure they're hiding. And I guess a word that suits it is cloaking, but they're not disappearing or anything like that. All I've ever seen them do is move to try to make me not see them, not realize that I was connecting with something. Whatever their thing was, I can't break down the reason why they're doing it. But they knew I was into them, and they chose to move. So, and the one where I do that big male for a long time, where he's there, I got him for like 10 minutes of footage or something. Get a little light action there for everybody. Here, let me set this up better. Do I need light on yet? There, now I don't look like a munchkin, eh? Yeah, so guys, do I need light on yet, guys? Do you want light on? Better, maybe? So, I was saying that, whatever I was just saying there. What was it? I lost it. Pennsylvania. Sasquatch? I eat them. You eat them? Hundreds of types? Oh my goodness, what are you guys talking about now? To become a tree-like thing, you know, I get what though, like I've had some tree stuff now. I've had one happen a couple of times where the first time it was happening was just with a roof, and it's a wood-built roof. And I'm like, who the heck is knocking? And I went all around, and I'm looking for where a woodpecker could somehow be up there. It was kind of trippy. And I ended up just leaving and thinking. I had no clue. Figured there must be a little hole, and somehow they're inside somewhere. Anyways, there's been another time where I went by there again, and I heard the noise going on, and I almost thought it was just being done in a way, like my imagination got carried away with me, and I thought, hey, is that being done to draw my attention over here? And I swear I went around that thing and looked, and it's a wood structure, and so it's all made out of wood and all exposed, so there's no soffit to or anything. It's like a roof and stuff, right? And up in there somewhere, so I can see all the shakes. I can see that there's no rotted shakes, no holes in the shakes. I come around, I look at the fascia board. You see all the planks that are the ones just on the roof. And so, now that I'm thinking about it, there might be a slight space, venting space, in between what I see as the roof slats and then the rafters coming down, and they're just a hand frame rafter like this, so you're seeing all this exposed. So there might be a slight space, because there might be some slats on here, I guess, and the shakes might be there, or else the shakes are on there. And if the shakes are on there, and the velocity sound of that noise and stuff, and like I'm telling you, I'm looking right at all the exposed everything. Trippy. There are some beams involved, so there is some thickness of some stuff like this. So if there's a way that some kind of a little critter has figured it, like a squirrel or a chipmunk has figured it his way, and the way he's biting is sounding like a bang, but it really does sound like tap, tap, tap. That's why I go with woodpecker, is because of the type of tapping going on. Woodpecker or Bigfoot playing, yeah. Yeah, so I hear you, Sherry. So the type that you're hearing, though, you can you can make out a woodpecker compared to a knocking, though, right? Even because lots of times that knocking is going to be characterized a little bit too. So try to do that separation where you're... thanks for the thumbs up. Puff, puff back. Mushrooms. Looks like Mark's on the mushrooms, I guess, tonight. So yeah, Sherry, like I was saying, just make sure, like, try to evaluate the knock. Evaluate where you think the noise can be running through a wood. Like you can hear it traveling through a tree, you know. If you think it is already a penetrated noise or on the outside, if there's bark involved. There's lots of stuff. You just have to make sure you're standing there in the forest. And if you're curious, then, you know how many people now have you heard talking about a story and there was bipedal walking on the, and that's my buddy, and I never even included that with that story where he was growling and stuff. It just flashed on me. Because he said that it was walking, and and we all know the difference between a bear in that proper moment anyways, so many of us do. So Scout the M Beast is saying you need to read while you're talking about a subject. Less confusing, old timer. Yeah, I'm too confusing? Standing and watching Bigfoot for about a subject less confusing, old time. Okay, oh sorry. Standing and watching Bigfoot for 10 minutes. You were at, oh okay. Oh, that's right, okay. So, yeah, I was standing and, so I was watching that guy for 10 minutes. And instead of trying to do something where he totally just tried to... Because one moment he is out of the thing. But for whatever reason, after that, he chooses to come back into the full picture again with his head up. Almost like that. But he chooses to move in ways to just try to trip me out. He does this one, I've talked about it many times, where he does a turn like this. His right hand is here. It's quite kind of interesting because at the very first couple of times I was looking at it, I thought that was a youngster hanging out on his head. And then I ended up figuring out it was right hand, and he ends up changing his positions of his fingers or whatever. It's quite interesting once you're able to clue in, and he does a separation where he brings his hand quite up high like that. And at one point when he does that, I think he might move the arm a little bit like this, but he minimally turns this arm. I kid you not, man. There are 2 black dots right here that I ended up coming into tune. This is stuff with going over and going over. So I've watched that video a number of times. But let's just say the black marks are right here and here. And I got all this detail of seeing him sitting there and stuff. Well, that arm at one of these shifts ends up doing this. Shifts over like that. And you get to see those lines working their way over like that. And when you've studied the whole film with me and my camera, because you got to bring all this into it, and I don't have a problem at all, because there's no denying what's going on. And when you bring all that into it, it isn't the sufficient movement that helps that movement or anything. They don't work together, so it is fully, people with the knowing are able to know. I'm just not sure. I'm just thinking right now, I don't have any opinion on his hand yet of that thing, on that one there, but that's one of the ones I want to do a close-up, like do a kind of a breakdown on. I don't think I did very good on my breakdown on my face-to-face one there, because, I don't know, just get that feeling. Yeah, I know I was talking about mushrooms and stuff. So anybody got anything to tell exciting that they've done lately? Gotten chased out of the forest? Hey, have you guys been listening to Rick? He's got the big title there. Rick looking for Bigfoot or something like that. And he puts up trippy stuff, man. But just last night, I guess, he put up a video. And the funny thing is, I felt like commenting on it. I did comment on it, but I felt like adding another comment, but I chose to wait because I want to see what Rick's comment is. Because I swear, man, if you listen to Rick in his voice, he's got quite the voice. He's got something that characteristic that kind of hangs out, kind of sticks out about his voice. Now go and listen to that video tonight. And right near the end, because what ended up happening, I guess Rick chooses and he goes and puts his phone out there. He's got a spare phone or something. He goes and puts it out there taping. And he probably waited 10 minutes or whatever to go to work or whatever he's doing. He goes out to his truck. And you can hear at one point when the noise is going on where you think, okay, I got to figure out if this is somebody pulling bullshit or if some real beings going on there or something. At one point, because this is how much I studied into it to some extent. I listened to it 3 or 4 times. But at one point you end up hearing a goo, real light like that. And I think it's kind of not that beeping, but it's Rick starting his car or his truck right there or something like that. But he just has it in the kind of in that spot, lets it sit for a second. And then he starts his truck and sounds like a Ford, all that kind of stuff. And this thing is still there through that whole time. But one thing what you look for is you look for pauses, you look for understanding why it, this and that or whatever. But when that little comes on, and I can hear it, and I would imagine maybe you guys can hear it, this being or whatever type thing is making some vocalization noise, I think, in the midst of that. So that's something to try to observe while you're listening to it, because it's only sound. Close your eyes. Just try to, I think he does something like this where he's maybe doing this and he's doing it so fast or something. He somehow, and just think about he does it. It really does sound like that kind of a snap. Oh, that ambulance came right here. Excuse me. But, so that's interesting. And it's like he's trying to test this thing out. Like, you never know. Rick's maybe been out there with his, testing it out. Hey, 1, 2, 3, and stuff like this. So now this thing's over there. And it's very interesting voice sounding. It sounds, very well sounds like it could be a person trying to trip us out with that voice. And then there's some kind of, I either imagine it being like maybe going, so he's doing different, he's doing, and he does this and clicks or whatever type thing, whatever goes on there. And then that amongst then is when the truck starts up and stuff, and they seem like they horse around almost a little bit more, like this and stuff. And it's like, I don't know, man, if that's Rick, then he's really coming up with some pretty good stuff. And, yeah, so go listen to that. After this, I'm going to go listen to it again. That's the ones I like. I like some of the sound ones. Especially in a case like that, because that's what I said to Rick. I said, at least it sounds like they like you. So whether it's him doing it, whatever, I don't want to insult the guy, but what do you think about Todd Standing? I was thinking about him again today for a moment there, and I thought I would like to try talking to him. You don't really measure. That's why some people say they like this live stuff, because then they get to get a little bit more out of the character of a person, not one more step closer than if it was just in a video form, right? And that's the same. I just like to have the real character feeling of him from sitting and talking with him, not over a phone, not over a computer or whatever type thing like that. And so I kind of thought about that. I thought a good way for me to do it was I could just go show up at it. He's not that far away. He's however many miles away. If the roads are in good condition, I could just go show up at his facility or whatever type thing and See if I could start teaching him something and see how open he was to it. I would almost imagine he would open up very quick. But whether he's going to be able to jump this far into the pool, it's not a hole anymore, you guys. It's a swimming pool of information in here. And I kid you not when I say those videos, you know, supposedly that guy, they said in the newspaper, some article or something, that Todd guy charges like $4,800 to take people into situations where, I don't know, but I'm imagining where he takes them on a week thing, or maybe takes them out every day probably, and takes them out and says this is where they hang out and stuff like that. Yeah, I talk about that, no problem. Yeah, it's a lot of money if that's real, eh? But, you know, lots of people do those big buck adventures up here in Canada for hunting grizzly, hunting moose, all that kind of stuff. It's always like about a $5,000 price tag on all of that stuff, I hear. Big fishing trips. You know, different things like this, so... But Todd's standing, so... Yeah, I don't know. Don't know. I've heard things about him and decided, well, I can't really judge his character because he could turn around and think that he's heard some things about me and really be judging my character way off too, right? And I'd rather be able to explain to him my theories right to his face, and if he is of a scientific mind type guy, he's going to for sure get something out of it. If he just, you know, doesn't want to think at all in his mind at all about what I have to say, then, you know, biggest thing to sell him on would be my DNA, to make him understand that I really do have, you know, I put it at 100% myself. I know it could be 0.1% off and fail somehow or whatever type thing, right? But I know 100% myself where I was, that was a gift. That piece of deer bone that's obviously being cleaned out by a hooked claw and has 3 different plateaus of depth. There was blood marrow in it still. There was blood in it, red blood still. And you could tell it was freshly being shared amongst probably family, or at least one person eating. Bigfoot discovery trip. That includes gold panning. Oh, okay, I'm game, Tin Man. Oh, okay, yeah. Good. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not setting anything like that up. That's why I'm saying anybody wants to come. And, you know, first I'd have to obviously make sure it works out in kind of whatever personality we talk, whatever type thing. And they want to come around into my area and go and learn some stuff. You're welcome to explore into figuring out how to get here and do that thing. But I'm not going to take care of anybody. I'm not going to be doing it I'm not in a situation where... So in other words, a person's coming over, then they come up with an idea. This is where I want to go, Tin Man. I want to go explore over in this area or something like that. Then I would say, hey, yeah, I'm into that. I can meet you over there. I can do this, whatever kind of thing, and explore that kind of an adventure. Meanwhile, you got your camp where you're camping at, whether you set up at tent camps, whether you're hoteling it, whatever that all involves. And all would be is that tour guide guy that's hanging out. I can't say that I'm a tour guide. I'd be breaking the law in our country. All I can say is we're chumming, we're Bigfoot explorers, and you're on your own. But I'm trying to show you the signs of things. It can't come back in any way to me, other than we're just chums like that. And that would be the proper way to do it. Will I ever change in business and do it differently like that? I could do that. You know, maybe I would be into, say, doing once a month, a little excursion thing where, you know, up to 10 people really do go hang out in a camp somewhere, and we just, in our camp that we set up or whatever type thing, we hang out there for a week. We do our exploring, we do our camping, we do our eating, we do our socializing, you know, just kind of like one of those kind of mom, pa kind of, you're out there in amongst them. You know, I got lots of different ideas that you can do. I've got right here I can easily point at 3-4 different habitats of where I know they strictly do live. Not other than, like, just they do live. And so people might choose to do that. Just go straight to that spot. And as soon as we start going into that spot, anybody with an inkling starts to realize what's really going on. They get to start sitting as a passenger beside me in this kind of thing. Like brown dwarf, I think brown dwarf still has a tough time with that cave noise that I was calling for him, or whatever type thing. And I'm telling you, man, straight up, I stick with that. And that's all part of the fooledness. You know, probably one of the biggest foolings with sounds that they've pulled over our eyes is dog sound. I would not put that past them. Different areas are going to be different things. If you're in a big chicken farm area, then chickens. They'll do chicken noises. They're about fooling you, throwing you off your pace, and being able to accomplish their thing. Just get away from us probably is mostly their thing. But then I sit here and I wonder, well, why you guys moved into our neighborhood then? Yeah, good thought, eh? Big-headed Martian. So yeah. Any other thoughts? What's everybody up to tonight? Oh yeah, it's all cool. It's got to be cool. There's a lot of other things going on out there in the world. Some big calls got made yesterday by America. I don't really understand, but like I do understand, but it's kind of silly how we just empower people in our own minds too, right? Yeah, I think I have your number, eh? It's just that I can't afford extra bills. I'll send you a text. Free on a cell phone to call you? Oh yeah. Always try to have my batteries charged. I've been out there a few times when I didn't have batteries died out on you and stuff, and it is a drag. I like to be able to just have a camera running if I can. Oh yeah. Oh, with this? Yeah, it's nothing. Yeah, I got lots of juice. My battery did almost die the other day, though. I left my headlights on. You know, I park like this and it doesn't have a buzzer in it. And I had my lights on for way too long of a time and it didn't want to start, so I just left it and let it sit for a little while and let it calm down, and it started, charged back up, no problem. See our little bit of a sunset going on? Looking west, guys. A little bit of dirty stuff on the window. Well, guys, coming up to that hour. So I'm gonna boogie. Any last thoughts? Yeah, kind of. It was a beautiful day today. Good night, Sherry. Take care, all. Thanks for coming in. I will, big-headed Martian. You take care.